Time for Headaches and Heartaches. Rory Hafford is here, psychotherapist and author and singer and, well, man of many hats. How are we?
That's me. Yeah, that's because I have a big head. I need as many hats as I can. Can you say protein farts on radio now without offending people?
Well, we've done it twice, so hopefully you can. We will talk about causing offence in a moment because it's a problem that Mark is having in his office job in County Laois. But we'll start with Joan. Joan says she lives not too far from Tullamore and is very delusioned and angry with the response of the powers that be in the aftermath of Storm Éowyn. She suffered a lot of hardship. She was cold. She was fearful. And she feels she will just never trust the authorities or the government again. And she doesn't like feeling this way. Any advice?
Yeah. It's actually not a nice way to feel. It's not a nice. And normally when you have feelings like that, you look for others to transfer them onto. I actually even the tone with which you are reading that little comment by her, there's a sadness to it. There's almost like a giving up to it. And she's not alone. She's not alone by any means at all. I get it. I mean, I myself was lost up the mountain for days, plunged into the dark and the cold and the wind and the rain, and nothing. It was like we were thrown back 100, 150 years, but crucially, without the survival skills that came to us 150 years ago. So, well, I'd lost lambs in the teeth of it. Here's what I didn't, when I saw this little question, I didn't want to be just jumping on the bandwagon of let's beat up the government and let's do this and that, because let's face it, Will, we did that with not this government but with the last one because of all the problems, the housing, the health, everything, and then they got voted back in. So it seems almost like a pointless exercise, or that we as a people are afraid to take a chance on somebody else. But
well, without politicising it, I suppose the counter-argument would be as well that sometimes events are beyond the control of any government. A storm of that magnitude comes along because Mother Nature sends it our way. And of course we can argue about whether infrastructure was up to scratch or resources deployed effectively. But these things are going to happen and nobody can protect us or cocoon us.
Yeah, no, I get that, and I get that 100%. But I have a little nugget of information in relation to something that may throw just a little bit of light on that, and I'll give it to you in a second or two. The problem I have with the timeline is that we as a people were warned weeks in advance that there was a storm coming and it was going to be a biggie. And still it seemed to take them by surprise. It's almost, to my mind, what they should have said is, there's a storm coming and here's what we're going to do. In reality, what happened is, oh crap, we've just been hit by a storm, now what do we do? And they were running to people outside the country, experts, consultants outside the country to come in, and they couldn't get them to come in either. Now, surely it could be argued that they could have put that in place before the event. So this is just reactionary stuff, Will. And we know over the years that this is the hallmark of many governments. We'll do it when it lands instead of we will prepare to ease the pain. I mean, as a nation, as a people, we suffer from government incompetence. We know that. We know it. You'll probably get texts in saying, I disagree with that. But come on, we know it. And we have suffered for the longest time.
I think it can be argued as well about the nature of the civil service and whether there is proper oversight, because governments will come and go, whereas senior civil servants have tenure. But I'm mindful of the time, and I'm also conscious that I suppose this woman is asking for something to restore her faith, or at least dull down her disillusionment.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you that now in a second. But the little nugget that I wanted to bring you is that I have I have a guy who knows a guy who knows another guy who works in government. And
Right.
no, and that's as far as I'm prepared to go, Mr. Faulkner. That's as far as but this is true. And one of the comments around the mahogany table when the word came back that there were people in rural Ireland who were 2 weeks down the line still without power was, that's the price you pay for living in rural Ireland. Now, pick over the bones of that, take from that what you will. But to me, they're still happy to take the money of the people who live in rural Ireland, and I would be one of them. But when it comes to doing for them what is done in the bigger cities, particularly Dublin, they didn't want it. So let me just sum it up with the woman. So this woman has lost her faith. It's about time. I would say it's about time. Now, there's not I can do to change her thinking. But should I? Should I really change her thinking? Or should more people be thinking like her? And if more people are thinking like her, maybe then in Leinster House, the lads will gather round the mahogany table and go, oh, geez, there's a storm coming. That was quite lyrical, actually, wasn't it? That was quite lyrical.
So are you suggesting that she retains these feelings until November of 2029?
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm suggesting that she takes these feelings and does something with them. Instead of not wanting to feel this way, lean into the feeling and do something with it. Because this woman is by no means alone. Now,
by which you mean, I presume, some sort of activism?
I can't say that, Will. You know that.
Yeah, but you're not suggesting that she goes up to Leinster House now and starts a revolution.
Well, you can start a revolution from your bed. You know that. I mean, the last guy who attempted to start a revolution, I think it was the man who drove the truck into the gates. He was arrested, demonized, used as an example of how not to do it and what not to do, and the great nonsense show that just rolled on as it had forever. I mean, we could. You're dragging me into this. I know you're dragging me.
I didn't drag you into it. You went full speed ahead, Chief.
Listen,
you are on your soapbox and loving it.
You play back this interview and you'll see it is dripping with old school wisdom. So what I'm saying is she feels this way for a reason. Take your mind off the feeling and look at the reason. And if she looks up and around, she will see that there are many, many more people just like her who feel exactly the same way. Exactly. So in our time of need, I mean, people couldn't get warm. There were houses with no chimneys. Chimneys are outlawed now. They couldn't get warm. You can't burn, coal or turf or briquettes and you've no chimney, by the way. But we can't get the electricity back on. I mean, give me a break. That's the very essence of being taken by surprise by something.
But look,
it's just
the nature of politics is that people will disagree and are welcome to disagree with Rory. And I know the counterpoints will come in about the amount of money in the exchequer, the average wages in the country, the relative affluence compared to even as recently as the 1990s and so on and so forth. Can we move on to the next one before this gets contentious?
Check your text. Go on.
I will in a minute. But I want to deal with Mark in his office job in County Laois, where he feels over the past few years he is unable to open his mouth without younger employees taking great offence. And he's feeling isolated and ostracised, and he's asking, what on earth can you do about this? Now, he doesn't tell us what he says to cause offence, and I think that ingredient is vital.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think at this stage, it doesn't really matter. If somebody wants to be offended by something that you say, somehow the world has constructed itself around the power is with the person that is offended. Whatever that means, by the way. Whatever. I'm offended. So what? Like you didn't break your leg or anything, but I'm offended, and you can be offended to anything. You could be offended to this interview I'm doing with you now, to the tone of my voice. That could offend you. To the advice that you're given. Like you could be offended by that. But here's the thing. That's okay. It's the next step, Will. Because taking offence is finding fault. And the new Irish power, energy is now, when I find fault, you must be punished. And I see this day after day. So this man is in his job, has been in his job for some time. He is in his late 40s. I assume that he has the usual trappings of slavery, like mortgages and car repayments and all the rest of it. So he needs this job. Otherwise, he wouldn't be writing into a radio station. He needs it. But in essence, this is the PC world gone mad.
Well, we don't know what he's saying. And I have to play devil's advocate here. There are people who may be working with him who have a right to raise a grievance if, let's say, his sense of humour is, to them, inappropriate. And there are certain definitions within employment legislation. So if he's making some sort of discriminatory remark, which would be along religious lines, racial lines, gender lines, the list goes on. Are they not fair boundaries?
Absolutely. You can, I mean, you yourself used the word fart twice. I'm offended personally. So, but we're not.
And you didn't even have to smell them.
The tone of this text that we have got would suggest that this is for everyday language that the man is using. A friend of mine was recently hauled over the coals because he whistled. He whistled in work, and it was escalated all the way up the ranks. He whistled. Now, again, you could make the argument he could have been whistling loudly, he could have been whistling badly, whatever. But in essence, take the spirit of the complaint. He whistled.
Yeah, but if he's causing distraction, let's say there are people who are on calls and they're trying to maybe sell a product and they're thinking on their feet and you've got whistling Dixie in the background, that's going to throw you off.
Okay, right, okay, yeah. So anyway, this is the PC world gone mad.
That's productivity, not PC.
Ricky, well, it's PC world dripping into wokeism. So Ricky Gervais, the comedian, who is hunted down by the PC people and the woke people, who I respect as people, by the way. Before anybody texts in, he has a retort for them, and he says, "I don't care. I don't care. You can say what you want about me. You complain about it. I don't care. I will speak as I have always spoken." You know, I mean, in essence, the wokeism came into being with a good cause as the driver, that the world would be a more respectful place. But somewhere along the line, it lost its way. And it became, from what I can see, and I have an opinion as well, by the way, folks, from what I can see, it became basically like a witch hunt. And they were looking for certain words and certain... It's not even the words, it's the tone that you use now.
That may be true in certain situations, you're right. But Ricky Gervais is a multi-millionaire who can rightly turn around and tell people, I don't care. But Mark, in his office job, if he's saying something and his colleagues are complaining, and whether their complaint is valid or not, he's going to be nervous that his job is at stake. So he can't say, I don't care.
I know. But you're talking like a HR person there. I mean,
but he has to be mindful of HR. HR can dismiss him.
Okay. Well, what I see, if I can see things in this way, what I see is negative reinforcement. What I see is fault finding in action. And this is not just about this man. This deals with a wider group of people, wider group than him. So what I'm trying to do is to give you a general overall view of it. I mean, in effect, when people find fault, they diminish and they demean you. In other words, to be in the world and to see the world and to use the language that they use in the world the way they use it, because they want to be this way in the world. But what about me? What about if I want to be another way in the world? So I will be diminished and demeaned until I become that other way. Otherwise, we will hunt you down and we will label you as a this or a that. Now remember, this is a we. It's a group. We will label you as a this or a that. So do you know what? Maybe this man, the answer could be that he just needs to remove himself from what I would see as a sensitive person, contrary to popular belief, as a toxic environment. He might need to remove himself from that. Because if he has gone to the trouble to write into a radio station, you can bet your bottom dollar that this is not the first time that it's happened, that he's been subjected to this for quite some time. So for me, it seems to be a groundswell of people trying to make him think, say, do, feel what they find acceptable, as opposed to what he finds acceptable. We are all individuals in the world. We are all in the world in our own way. And
Hilda has a definition for woke, by the way, and those who criticise woke. It stands for whatever offends Klansmen easily.
Was that a joke?
No.
Did you put in the Klansmen?
No, that's what she says.
Okay. Who says this?
Hilda in Shinrone.
Oh, it's a texter.
Mm.
Yeah. No, and fine. Whatever floats your boat. Whatever you want to do in this world that makes you feel happy, knock yourself out. But there is another person in front of you who is in the world in a different way. And that needs to be treated with respect. And I don't see too much respect around attacking a human being because you don't like the way they talk.
And on that note, I think we could talk all morning, Rory. It's been fun. We'll compile these texts. Okay. We'll go through them the next time you're here. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Will.
Rory Hafford, psychotherapist and author who lives in 4 in County Westmeath.